Welcome to the January 27th Jalen Zones production user call. We have Antranig, Jan, Philip, and myself, Michael, so far. And Jan, you have been working on SR-IOV goodies and whatnot. Let us know what you've been working on.
So I've been messing around with single root I/O virtualization for VNet-enabled jails, so not for Beehive, or the Chelsea virtual interfaces, which should also kind of solve the same problem, so that you have a network interface you can give a VNet-enabled jail without having to software bridge on the host and then create an e-pair per jail to attach it to the network, because all of this packet processing in the kernel has a significant overhead, at least at 10 gig and faster. So I tried to create lots of network interfaces and then assign them to jails, which at first glance worked beautifully. Performance was great when measuring from another system. CPU overhead was basically negligible. It took about the same CPU load on the system to run iPerf in a jail or on the host, despite this being a VNet-enabled jail. But once I had some test services running, I wanted to access them from the host and found out, wait, why does that not work? And then I tried to create the second jail and have them talk to each other, which also didn't work. Turns out the packets go out to the switch, and the switch sees a frame, doesn't know where to send it, doesn't just send it back to the same MAC address, to the same port, even if there is a different MAC address, because, yeah, a switch is never supposed to flood or in any other way forward a frame back through the port it came in on. And so it just doesn't work. I guess in theory, I could configure my jails to be routers, then bind the IP addresses to a loopback interface, and have an e-pair for the internal traffic. But now I'm at the point where my jails have to have dynamic routing or a wrapper jail, which does the routing. That's just pure insanity from a complexity point of view. Suddenly, I have to manage a FreeBSD router in every jail. No, thank you. I wanted to put a single application in there, not router with lots of services. And yeah, so it looks like SR-IOV is not really usable unless you only have communication to external systems.
Interesting.
So I have similar Chelsea cards, not sure if the same, and I get the same results. Now for us, it's not a problem because we do have a switch in between, and we do want to use the switch. And for security purposes, we also do not want the jails to talk with the host unless there's a switch in between where we do the access control. So yeah.
Your problem is that your switch will just refuse to let you turn traffic back on the same port on the switch. Because, hey, this Ethernet frame can go to any other port on the switch except for the one it came in on. That's just how an Ethernet switch is supposed to work.
That's interesting because we don't have that problem. We do have a scenario when it goes out and comes back into the same NIC.
Yeah, maybe you on your type of managed switch you can do that with an ACL or something. A basic normal-ish switch shouldn't do that.
Okay, I see. You mean that like the Dell is doing an exception and not the rule?
Possibly. Like if you have an access control list entry which says this traffic, that port, okay, that probably overrides the forwarding logic.
Very good question. Let me check. Because I'm pretty sure I don't have an access control for that specifically.
Yeah.
But
I have to debug it a bit better, maybe set up a mirror port on the switch to look at the traffic. exactly, or even connect another FreeBSD system there and run TCP dump there. Because yeah, with several network interfaces capturing via BPF socket on one, so does not really work because there's no
So I did find in my case.
trustworthy interface to capture the traffic on, because I don't know if there's supposed to be some kind of bridging logic within the
Yeah.
NIC or not. Yeah.
I'll just put that into the doc. So I'm just gonna do it here. On Tronix case with the Dell S1000 switch. Let's do that. Let's do, what do I want to do? I want to also paste this, I guess. Yeah, let's also paste this. Okay. And then I want to do that. So what's happening in my case is that, so you see on the Fortinet interface 1/9, those are SR-IOV virtual functions. As you can see, it ends with like 10, 11, 12, right? This is a single NIC connected to a single port, 1/9. But in the 1/9 NIC, there's an SR-IOV system, which is split into 3 cards. And I even know which cards these are. This is the thin one, thin two, and thick one. And they get each their own MAC address. And now it's working fine. So I do wonder if there's a MAC address problem, maybe. I don't think so. I mean, you would have seen
Each
that immediately,
interface,
right?
in my case, has a unique
Yeah.
MAC address.
Yeah, exactly.
As it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So stuff like DHCP works perfectly fine.
Interesting.
Or Slack.
Uh-huh.
It just works because the DHCP server is on another physical system.
I see. But if you would try to connect from the 10 to the 11, in my case, you're not able to reach that.
So I have all of this on one physical port of my network card, going into one port of the switch via direct attach cable.
I see.
And basically for it to work, the switch would have to learn the MAC address as being on this, all of the MAC addresses being on the same physical port, which it does, because otherwise other systems couldn't talk to it. But also forward traffic which leaves the host back to the host, right? On the same switch port, which of course it doesn't do, because that's not how a switch is normally supposed to behave.
I see.
It would kind of open the door to a Ethernet loop without loops, because suddenly, no. So, according to my understanding, this is kind of core to how Ethernet is supposed to behave. Yeah, at least if you just look at it, the packet flow direction. If you look at the MAC addresses, you could argue that, hey, this MAC address goes back there and it's an access port. So yeah, you could make it work. But yeah, right now it looks like, sadly, SR-IOV is not really usable as a fast alternative to software bridging, except for a few limited use cases. But it's not a plug-and-play replacement. It just works out of the box. No.
So yeah, it's not a panacea, and Antranig, you have some variation on this, but it's between physical hosts. Is that accurate?
No, mine is exactly the same setup as Jan, but mine works.
Well, okay.
Well, I mean, saying exactly the same setup is a very vague statement. We're assuming it's the same setup as Jan.
Sure.
You know, I mean,
Okay.
oh, one NIC, one switch, one DAC, or in my case, one fiber optic cable, and it works, right? And that's the output that I get. So as you can see, it's one NIC, the 40 gig 1/9,
Yeah.
and I see three different devices, the MAC addresses, which is the virtual machines on virtual functions. I
You
don't know
said
why.
machines, not jails?
Yes, I am using
Oh,
virtual
well,
machines. Although I do have the GL's case as well. 1 second, I can
yeah,
do
let's
that.
take a look at that. That sounds to be what he's trying to do.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Let me see what I get there. I'm pretty sure I can find those as well.
While you find that, Jan, you mentioned shutdown hangs.
Yeah, another problem I found out about is that if you destroy a VNet-enabled jail while it has what appears to be a physical interface in it, so anything which is not your loopback interface or so on, or ePair, for some reason this jail then hangs on shutdown. It just stays in dying state forever.
Mhm.
The really annoying part is you can't get it out, and you can't even trick the kernel anymore to just bring back the dying jail, because now FreeBSD 15 at least will, if you try to explicitly reuse the jail ID of the dying jail, the kernel will just rename the jail ID of the dying jail to something very high, like 900,900, whatever. Um, and so you have this dying jail. It will never die completely. It just is stuck. The interfaces are locked inside of the dying jail. You can't get them out anymore because ifconfig-JNE or ifconfig VNet and so on no longer works on it because the jail is dying. You can't resuscitate the dying jail anymore because instead the kernel will renumber the dying jail and create a new jail with the jail ID, but it doesn't have the interfaces. Those are still stuck in the dying jail. It's annoying. The workaround so far is to just take the interfaces out of the jail in a pre-stop hook, so exec.prestop, which works, but is really something you shouldn't have to do. There shouldn't be a pre-armed foot gun included in the VNet mechanism. Um, yeah,
So,
it's in this case it's something you can trivially work around, but it's just annoying. One of the consequences of working around it is that you must not use any jail which is not persistent, because if the jail is not persistent and all the processes die, the kernel will garbage collect it without any chance to run the pre-stop hook, because yeah, the jail is already gone by the time you run something like jail dash uppercase C to do the cleanup. Um,
can you successfully clean it up, or are you
no,
forced to
you can't.
reboot?
Once it has happened, it's too late, and the only way you're getting your interface back is through rebooting the host.
Ooh, that doesn't sound
Yeah,
nice.
the workaround is to never let this happen by
Hmm.
always manually removing the interface from the VNet jail before you destroy the jail. Which is kind of annoying because that's something the kernel could kind of do the exact same thing, which it's already trying to do. Maybe there should be instead be a flag on the jail you could set to, hey, rip out the jails before destroying the networks. Sorry, rip out the interfaces before tearing down the network stack or something. So that, yeah, or just bring the interfaces down and then take them out, and then destroy the VNet instead of trying to move the interfaces out later where it can hang, um, or fix whatever causes this hang. Right now, it's possible to use this. Um, for example, another problem would be with a VLAN interface. There's an open bug report. I forgot the number, where someone encountered the exact same behavior I have encountered with an SR-IOV interface, with a VLAN interface.
So that said, obviously the first few decades of jail did not have interfaces, network interfaces passed into them, such that maybe it is indeed just simply a bug that the kernel should be tearing down and detaching all network interfaces before destroying the jail. Is that what you're saying?
No, it should be able to do what it is currently doing, but it would be nice if you had the option of making the kernel do the workaround automatically.
That's kind of what I'm
Uh,
hinting at. So you mentioned a PR.
it
Is that
wouldn't fix
specific
the
to
underlying
this?
problem that
Okay.
the current order of things of kind of moving the interfaces out of the VNet uh, as you destroy the VNet, that's supposed to work, but it doesn't.
So sounds like a bug.
Yes, it is.
So, and then you mentioned a PR that's specific to this or it's related?
It's probably the exact same underlying problem,
You know what my next
just with
question is?
hmm,
You know my next question?
the link.
Yes. What's I'll put a place for it. So yeah, drop that in when you have it because it that this is not something any of you want others to be burned on, do you? So let's determine if there's an underlying issue that needs to be addressed and address it as best we can collectively. And sorry about the background noise. It was distracting for all of us. But we have a house guest, and so that pushed my
Um,
wife to the upstairs. So yeah.
so yeah, I dropped the
Oh,
link into
thank
the
you. I
chat.
appreciate that. Excellent.
It's issue
Yes,
286
sir.
something.
179.
Yeah, 1789.
And I'll have paste in a minute or two here. But okay. And just thinking pragmatically, any teardown issues you find might have related other teardown issues. So I hope this gets some
Yeah,
attention. Let's take a look at it.
as a final report for my experiments, after like 200 jail shutdowns, suddenly the whole host just
Oh, there
rebooted
we go.
because I wasn't attached to the system console via IPMI when it happened. I didn't get there in time to stop the automated reboot, so I didn't capture the panic. I assume it was some kind of panic because the system just rebooted, and by the time I set up the VPN to access the system console, it already was at the disk decryption prompt.
That said, might it be smart to add to this PR the fact that you believe you're seeing the same behavior on
Oh, scroll
SR-IOV
down.
system? Oh, I thought I hit the bottom of it with Mark Linneman. Oh, past Mark Linneman. There we go. Thank you. Yes, great. Yeah, I thought he had the final word. Yeah. Maybe chuck in the keyword SR-IOV if it's specifically SR-IOV, because people may.
No, it's not.
Okay.
But this is not an IOV issue now. Yeah, we've seen
Yeah,
this one before. Yeah.
yeah. And the workaround is
The workaround is the same workaround that you would use on the bridge interface back on FreeBSD 10. Like,
yeah.
There.
Oh, but the bridge bug, I know that was the link aggregate driver bug was found and I think fixed. So there was a tiny race condition in the link aggregation driver where the when you change the bonding protocol from like failover to LACP or something, uh, for a few nanoseconds, the function pointers for the callbacks are null. And that
Hmm.
could kill your system. Instead of making it a no op pointer, there was a null pointer installed. And yeah, if you call a null pointer in the kernel is gone.
Hmm. I'll just throw this out there. Carlos, you're listening. Here is that link you requested for Entrenig's static site generator. So Long-term jail maintenance. What's on your mind, Jan?
I think 2 weeks ago, Philip asked uh, for recommendations what to do for if you have long-term deployment in mind. And yeah, I would kind of agree. Just use jailer.conf. Sorry, jail.conf,
You know,
and
that dev, I guess.
minimize what you're changing. So don't do any modifications to config files if you can have them include something, stuff like this. For example, don't modify the new syslog.conf, put it in the right directory so that you keep basically make it so that etc update doesn't change anything, right? You don't want to merge stuff repeatedly. Try to keep the diff as small as possible, but just, if possible, using includes instead of modifying files in the base system and so on. That just makes it more convenient long term.
As if we have user local etc for that purpose on many subsystems.
Yeah, for example, stuff like syslog configuration, log rotation. Yeah, try not having to merge changes if possible. It just makes minimal tool use more pleasant.
Speaking of jailer.dev on Trineg, tell us how that will save us in the long haul.
Oh, I'm not in a good position to answer that right now because I'm still trying to solve my problems. But no, on the serious end,
Yeah.
I'm very much worried. Um, Basically, from my understanding, all of the jail managers, Jailer, Bastille, literally all of them will have to redo a lot of their core to adapt package base. I don't know if the others have done it yet. I know that Bastille hasn't. I checked today. But all of us will need to do our changes. Now on Jailer, luckily we've been prepared for this because back in the corporation days, when I asked Colin that we have such problems, and we were on 13 back then. He's like, "Hey, use package base." So we are kind of already prepared for it. There's like a single 50 line of script that we have to change, and the rest is go. That's kind of good. That's kind of good. But the
So,
others looks like they're going to have to do a lot of work to integrate package base. So
should
currently we are also using Jailer just to generate the config files, but everything else is done manually.
So it looks like FreeBSD update is not quite as dead as intended.
Yeah, that's true. And FreeBSD Rust date is very useful.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. And fast, key point.
So for the jail managers, they kind of have to replace FreeBSD update with package commands and know how to bootstrap jail with package base, which is can be boiled down to like 20 lines of shell.
And that's a great
With
segue to me pointing out that, again, BSD install jail supports package base, and it just pops up a choice. Do you want, distribution sets or package base, and what's your mirror, and have a nice day. So there's that. Uh,
Yeah, because it just calls into the rest of BSD install, which
yep.
so the jail installation is kind of like having BSD install into your jail root directory instead of into /mnt and not do the disk formatting
Yep.
steps and networking and so on. So it's really just picking the parts of the installer. So yeah, I guess for initial installation, the jail managers could go with package-based installation, but that would mean they have to have the initial packages around, I think, unless BSD
It,
install already include the code to deal with that. And if it does,
It fetches
then good
them.
for them.
Should I give a quick demo here? I can do that. But
No, you would have to read the code to know the difference.
no, I mean just what you can do here and now with install jail. It just goes, hey, here, where do you want to put it? Blah, blah, blah. Welcome, Daniel.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Awesome. Think about topics, but I do want to ask here and now, and maybe you have a great opinion on this. Point of order, what do we call this thing? Package base, PKG base, camel case. What I've seen all three. Ooh,
Well, the
go.
English word is packaged base, right? Because you're making a package out of the base.
And it's been packaged up. Great. But
Yes. I don't like the word package base because that
which word, one word or
the second
phrase?
one,
Second
the
one.
phrase package
Oh,
base. That's a verb. That's like, hey, let's package
let's
base.
package. Correct. But I think people
Exactly.
say that
Or it's a
or
noun.
slur that or something.
Yeah. PKG base is a technical term, I guess, because like that's what you have in the make files and stuff like that. So
Package base.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, I'm not a native speaker, and yet package base is like a verb more than a noun. Package base, I like that. Yeah.
Other
Or
opinions?
base
And
packages.
Sorry, dear.
Base packages.
Base packages, yes. Base
so if I have
packages
a base packages
is
jail,
you would have a base packages jails, which is installed using packaged base.
Oh, don't worry about it.
well, in
Even if it
documentation,
sounds
consistency is
clunky, people
important.
will understand you.
Yeah, but they're saying the one you don't like. So I guess
Yeah,
we
I guess
should delete
everyone
the
is
official docs.
every
Go ahead, Daniel.
oh, just everyone I've ever heard refer to it says package base. So I
Well, with
feel like
the
it's like a brand, it's a brand name now,
with
it's not even, it doesn't even have you know, the bizarre meaning that
so package or packaged or package and the D is silent. You see my point? It's like, oh, there's a
I
package
don't
base.
know.
Like, but what did you say? Package base or packaged?
That's what I've heard people say. I'm
Which
happy to
one?
call it
No,
whatever
literally,
anybody
which one?
wants.
Which one, Daniel?
I'm very progressive that way.
Yeah, which one did you say? Or have you heard?
I
With or
think
without a
I
D?
think PKG base sounds like without a D, but just because it says PKG, I think package install package. That's I don't know. That's what I say.
So they
But
expand this to this, which makes some sense.
right,
See my problems.
that seems intuitive, even if it's wrong. I mean, technically wrong.
Okay. So yeah, for documentation, what would the dictionary do exactly? What would all the proper authorities do? Okay, thank you for humoring me on that because I'm sitting here actually writing a README
You're
for Outcome BSD, and I'm like, well, what do I call it? That's kind of
you're from a
important.
you're from a post-Soviet country. We used to have like the language committee, you know? Uh, is
Yes,
there an English language committee that we can submit this question to?
Latvian, yes, English, no, and they come up with the most god-awful roundabout technical terms where, if everyone says
Been there.
serveris, you're like, oh, let's find some stretch. So yeah, or
Yes.
Urban Dictionary. So anyway, thank you for humoring that, but I need to know what to type on a doc. I'll do some research on the project. Daniel, do you have any topics? Set us straight.
No, not really.
Cool. Anshnik, you've been working on Service-S. You have a review that's been out there. People had concerns. It sounds like you may have worked around their concerns.
Oh
What you
yeah, I
got?
should also submit the concerns. I'm so sorry. Reviews FreeBSD.org.
Which of the
I did.
two? First one or second one? Oh, sorry, the three of them. Ah,
None. Those are my updates. What I want to share with is what we removed, as in I abandoned it because I think abandoning it was the best idea for
okay.
now.
Yep.
First of all, it's been a couple of years since then. Let me just put the link of the abandonment.
You abandoned the
open
original?
the changes or abandoned
Oh,
original changes. Okay, there we go.
fine.
So that's the one.
Right.
And so people like that, which is good. By the way, for those who don't know, the motivation of the patch is RC dash service from OpenRC, which prints what services you have and which status, which state are they in. Now, OpenRC has a crashed state. That's a thing that they can actually manage in their subsystem. So you'd be like, hey, OpenSSH started, then it crashed, right? Of course, as the maintainer, you have to take care of what does a crashed state mean and how you would know it's a crashed state. They have kind of a life check, could be a pit file or whatever else it is. So I wanted that on FreeBSD, and a couple of years ago, I started working on service-s, which is status. And what it does under the hood is that it runs service something status. The problem is a lot of the base packages do have a status, which they shouldn't. That's the first link or the second now. A good example of that is, let me open up the the paste. I spent some good time figuring out who's who. You would see your typical stuff, right? Like a cron makes sense. A DH client makes sense. But then there are things which have a status flag, which don't need a status flag, like IP6 ADDRCTL. That's the IP6 policy control of how
Well,
IP6.
it has a status and it's meaningful.
Well, that's the thing. It's not a status as it's running or like not running. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the question. What does status
What does
mean?
status mean exactly?
Yeah.
Then the next one is, let's say, which one was I suffering with for a while? Let me see. ZFS keys. Like there's like service ZFS keys a status. Again, it has no meaningful output, unlike IP6 address CTL. And like ZFS
Yeah, I'm
keys. Yeah, sorry.
I'm a sinner. I'm a sinner here because I
Why?
use service ng buddy status will give you a list of will
Yes.
give you an organized list of your tree,
Yes.
which isn't whether or not it's on. It has no idea if it's on. It
Exactly.
just yeah. So I need a separate abstraction for that.
That's a very good point. So then when I started thinking about the base, my next question was, what about ports? And your port ngBuddy was because I run service ngBuddy status every day. So that's the second one of the links, or the third one now, which is all of the ports which have use RC sub R in them, which is how we install service files. And then I realized that some of those might even have multiple services. A good example of that would be Jellyfin, because like there's Jellyfin client, Jellyfin server. Another one would be, well, I don't know, there's a lot of them. So in the third link, I iterated over all of the ports and I got all of their service names. So let's say you have a package named Git or a package named rsync. Well, they might have multiple services. So that's why I iterated over all of them and got those names of the services that they are. And the next step after that was, well, let me try installing all of these packages. Now, mind you, you will not be able to Xorg install all of them because you would have conflicts like Nginx and Nginx full or would get a conflict, right? So I still need to like narrow down things manually, which is a lot of work. So that's the next step in this process. And then install all of the packages with all of their services and then do the appropriate changes to the service command to see how service-s works correctly. Now, the base ones are not the hard one. What I have in my mind for the base ones is just a list of the services to ignore. Like, hey, ZFS keys, ignore that. You don't need ZFS keys to be statusable. Statusable? Yes,
Sure.
statusable.
Got it.
What I'm thinking is port maintainers, or I myself would even do that, is adding a variable to say if a packet, if a service has parsable status. In this case, the most important thing that we need is that it returns a 0 or not. right? So that's like one of the, oh, Daniel, can we do that? Like
Yeah.
just that.
I mean,
Like forget about the output. If there is anything, it's 0. If there is nothing, which means like ng-body is not running, like there's nothing, it's 1 or whatever it is. Like
right. If there's at least one, yeah, at least one
it's 0. Like it's
detectable
running, you know?
link. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. At
That
least
would
one
like
detectable link.
that's like a perfect solution because I'm going to ignore all of the outputs and just have like 0 or non-zero to have it to know if it's started or not started. And of course, I'm
Yeah.
also parsing if it's enabled or not. So it's going to become 3 columns. So, service, enabled, disabled, and the current status.
Yeah, I think that's sort of that sounds like something that should become sort of a style standard
Yeah,
for it should be obvious that status should return,
zero, non-zero.
non-zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but even in base, we have things that do return 0 when they are like not running, quote unquote. I mean, it's not really not running because it's not a service per se. Again, IP6 address CTL comes to mind. What else did I want to ask and tell about this? Yeah, there's a lot of work to do on the ports end of things. I did try downloading all of the packages after narrowing down some of them, like at least to not have dependency mismatching or conflicts. It turned out to be around, I want to say, 2,500 packages, give or take, that I need to install. I did share it somewhere. Sorry, 4,400 packages. Oh, this is a cute number. 4,433, 4,433 packages
To achieve
will need
what?
to be installed. Will need to be installed to test all of the service files of all of the packages,
Ha.
which is approximately 80 gigabytes of space.
Ha. Okay.
Now, again, luckily I have 0 storage and compute problems and automation problems, so I will be doing all of that anyway. But the next question is I need to talk with someone to understand if I have the right or should I add an ignore list for the base services. Like, if you see ZFS keys, just don't do anything, move on. Or should we add a new keyword into the service file which says this thing is statusable or not? Statusable. I mean, yeah, sure, why not? Statusable or not? Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. That
ZFS.
makes sense because I was thinking about DMA also because that doesn't have it doesn't actually run a service. It just
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has a service object. It has a service object, but
Mhm.
it's really just a cron replacement. It just starts
Yeah.
something in startup and then it never runs again,
Yeah.
or only when you tell it to.
Mhm. So yeah, these are
That's
some
interesting.
stupid things I have to figure out. I mean, I want to make this patch by, I don't know, the end of next month because again, I was using OpenRC today again, because our other servers are either Dev1 or Alpine. And it was so nice to see that output to know that, oh, OpenNTPD has crashed, you know? Meanwhile, on FreeBSD, of course, we have the other nice things. When you do PSAUXF or whatever your PS favorite arguments is, you know exactly what each process is, unlike in Linux, where it's like a goddamn mess of processes, especially on Ubuntu. It's like, what's apt background, So yeah. Anyway, that's the long story short version of this. The only jails related thing that I did want to say is, I when it gets to the jails, I don't want to say jails started, stopped. No. Instead, I want to say jails started if there is a jail running, and then the line beneath it would be jail dot dub 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 started, jail dot foobar buzz started. So it would list all of the jails that you have in that output as like a sub service, let's call it that. Yeah. And maybe that could also become a syntax, maybe for WireGuard, for example, right? So you would be like, if WireGuard is running, which WireGuard? Well, I'm connected to Dexter's house and I'm connected to the government's VPN, right? So like these are the two things. So maybe that could also be part of the new status syntax to return to.
And then think about parsing that if it's all one line or if it's a tree or what,
Mm-hmm.
because don't
And those are like
make a bad decision.
these are like per service defined. Like in case of
Yeah.
WireGuard, it's WireGuard interfaces. In case of jails, it's like
Right.
jails list, so maybe I should come
Good
with a
point.
standard. The word instance comes to mind, like instances.
Jail versus jails. W interface single. Yeah. Multiplicity as a challenge.
Multiplicity as a challenge. Anyway, if anyone has also any other design decisions or suggestions that would make your life easier, I mean, I really want to really want to have this in base.
Cool. Quick question. So,
Yes.
if anything, you gave an example of ZFS keys. Is that its own
Yeah.
package, or is that just buried in the broader
That's in
ZFS
ZFS.
package? So it's
That's
just hiding
ZFS,
in there, and it happens to be one that doesn't fit. So you can't like ignore that
Oh.
package hypothetically, or check for it or something.
One
No.
second.
Uh,
Let me check for you.
and finally, are these your three categories? It was service name, enabled disables, and status. That's what you output.
Sorry?
Yeah,
Service
you
name,
said your tool would give three
yes, the columns. Yes.
Okay.
It would be specifically, it would be service name, enabled, disabled, running, stopped, or Jan. We came up with the correct words like 2 nights ago. One sec. So enabled.
Ready?
What?
Enabled.
So enabled, disabled, started, stopped.
And if you want to be a contrarian, the question I would have about status is status just supposed to return an exit code?
That's
So,
kind of the fundamental question. It sounds like, what
or
does
is
this
it
mean?
supposed to kind of give a human, meaningful description of the status of something? So, for example, for the ZFS load keys, should it just list which keys or which data sets have keys attached to them or something like that?
That's also a good idea.
Or
I mean,
should it be even more deeply
integrated.
involved in things and decide, hey, I have a configuration, I have a running system. Should I check if the configuration and the running state are in sync? Like, are exactly the keys, or should it be a superset potentially? So basically, are all the keys which are unconfigured to load still loaded? Is that the answer you want? Is there just at least one key loaded? So yeah, you can make even such a seemingly trivial problem complicated.
But that's a good point that a invariant, no, what's the word I'm looking for? A variation from the desired state is what you actually care about. You care about the exception to the number. A violation is actually the word I'm looking for. So if, I want 10 keys loaded and I have 8 loaded, I care about the 2 that had trouble in some way, maybe, for whatever reason. It's just having all information about all status, all lights green, or not, is not that useful to the operator.
To make things even more complicated, I think one of your Hara C.D scripts will be the sendmail one. Okay, it's kind of gone, but sendmail starts up to 3 daemons from one RC.D script.
Oh, what about NFSD and the
and the zoo of companion services, exactly.
Yeah, Mount Z and
should this just be rewritten into one RC.D service per process? And then maybe one bundle or something for which drives them.
Yeah.
It would probably be the right solution so that every NFS related service gets its RCD script, and then the NFS one just starts them all. Or the ones you pick. So you probably don't need the identity mapping daemon if you just configured NFS v4 to run with numerical user and group IDs, right?
Okay.
But what does it then mean if one of the 3 sendmail processes is not running? Right? Should sendmail just check if at least one of the 3 is still running? No, that's not useful. Should it list the ones which are running? Yeah, that's useful, but now you have to compare that against the configuration. you specified, yeah. But writing these checks can be, uh, again, the deeper you go, should something like the routing rc.d script really inspect the routing table to find out if all the static routes are there? Do
Oh,
you want to go that far?
Oh,
that's a very good question. I would want to go that far.
Yeah, but it means that suddenly the status is not necessarily cheap if you have a FreeBSD system with a BGP full table or 10, right?
No,
Just
what I meant is
some.
if you have like static routes equals home, comma,
Mhm.
office, comma,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Then it would be like, are these in, you know, but this is becoming complicated. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love
Yes,
our
it
RC
is. And
scripts,
it's
but doing all
it's
of this in shell, it's a nightmare. Even for me to develop it is a nightmare.
yeah, that's a
So,
problem because we're pushing the RC framework
oh,
way
hello.
beyond what it is supposed to handle.
wow, they actually have a
They
release?
finally got
Yeah,
there?
they have a
Wait,
release
what?
of a front end.
Okay, not the, okay, got it.
No, they have all the other pieces already exist. The
They've
front end was the missing component.
worked forever, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, okay. So I'm take a drink. Jan brought up S6RC. Good.
No, no, I had time to write a port for it and test the port. So I have an experimental port, but yeah.
A good question
Okay.
also is, can we
Uh,
still boot FreeBSD with OpenRC? Because I mean, the what was the desktop BSD thing? TrueOS guys did a lot of
PCBSD had,
work.
yes, they did a ton of
Yeah,
work, like
yeah,
buttloads.
they did that amazingly well, and I don't know if it still works, but I would love to move to OpenRC, but
Why?
why? Because it works.
But what does it do fundamentally better than our current RC scripting other than just producing colorful output?
It's easier to write.
Okay.
I mean, that's for sure. It's easier to write. I don't know about the whole dependency management and other stuff. I'm going to be
It
honest with
doesn't
you.
really do much more than what
Okay.
FreeBSD
Yeah.
RC
It
does,
did.
as far as
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
what about
and the
S6RC now that it has a front end?
does it
Yeah,
too?
Doo-doo.
I think it always
technically
have
it should
done.
be possible. I haven't messed with the system where I have S6RC running in a while. I still have that laptop here, so it still works,
Uh,
but I'm no longer dog fooding it.
Jan, does this XR, have you looked at this front end and did they get it right in your opinion? Not that you have any opinions.
I have
Uh,
started looking at
yeah.
it. I have not yet proven that it is wrong, so I can't say for now.
I've not proven it is wrong. I like that answer. I have not yet proven it is wrong.
So, given Lauren's track record, I would say he probably thought long and hard about it
Yeah.
and got it mostly right. But yeah, I have not set up a
Well,
system with all of
yeah.
this. Mod. In
Do
theory, one
report
of the
back.
nice
I am
things.
curious. That's
Hmm?
cool. Do report back what you find. I'm
Yeah,
fascinated insofar as you've
so
discussed this for
he
multiple
actually has
years.
a
We may as
concept
well
of
go there.
repositories of rc.d of services so that you can have like local services the administrator added in one directory, then the distribution ones in another, and the package provider ones in another, and then you have the sets of services you assemble from that so that you it's actually supposed to work well with a kind of packaging mentality. So that, yeah, just because there is a service script included in the package, you don't have to use it, but you can, and so on, right? So, yeah, looks like he considered the needs of operating systems.
I hope
So,
so.
just
Cool.
in the sense of Linux distributions of FreeBSD,
Yeah.
to be able to make services available the needs of the user to maybe write a custom service for something because you want to have your own little automation here or something, yeah, which is not available, not installed through a package and so on. If all of that works out, that's great. Guess then it would only take right services to make it a drop-in replacement for C.D. Yeah.
So, Antranig, going full circle to your proposal,
Mhm.
do you feel the policies, and be it Porter's handbook or otherwise are absolutely clear on what people should be doing? I'm going to mute for just a sec.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would want a better RCD policy on what RC scripts are supposed to do. So again, the bare minimum of returning non-zero for error sounds like a good opportunity. Like just the bare minimum of that would already help me a lot.
And that's not been canonized to date anywhere?
Not even in base.
Okay.
So
So you see my point of like, oh, why are we thinking about this 20-something years on?
So one of the really annoying things about the rc.subpref file, which annoys me, is that it kind of tries to do shell argument list quoting and so on in a few places so that it can quote the argument list and then give it to SU, which does not properly chain load. It
Yep.
expects the whole command as a single argument. It can split again and so
Yep.
on. Unlike something like sudo, where you can give your argument followed by dash dash and then an unmodified argument list. So one of the improvements we need for the RC scripts to be clean up, no, to be able to ever clean this mess up, is to change a few base system commands so that they are have a command line interface which can be used with chain loading. So you just prepend or append to the argument list instead of putting something in the middle with single ticks around and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Hiroki Sato wrote a script in regards to jailing any service, which is an awesome feature from a security perspective.
That's
which
come
is-
up recently to like have just a notion of like
Yeah,
institutionalized jail
yeah,
services, correct?
Yeah. The idea is very simple. Is that if you have Nginx, you would still run Nginx as you would run Nginx, but it would be in a jail, and that jail would be dynamically created using the same file system as the host system. The difference is that it's in a jail, which means if someone broke the user of the process in the jail, in this case user dub dub dub, it would not be the same user of root of the jail of the host, right? So the idea is solid. The idea is the mitigation that it does mitigate a good number of attacks, right? I mean, it's not a perfect solution, but like from like an OpenBSD developer perspective. But what I was going to say is that if we do merge this, then I will also need to add a fourth column, which is jailed or hosted.
Good
right?
point.
So is this about service jails?
Yes.
So my understanding with the service jails is that it runs a jail with path set to slash, so you lack the file system isolation, which is kind of one of the most important isolations jails provide.
Yeah.
And given that you're probably not jailing services which stay root, right? The attack surface is the user ID. So yeah, basically what it prevents is p-tracing other processes with the service user ID, but those are probably in the same jail, so they can still be p-traced, right?
Well, no,
where it gets really interesting.
There are different jails. So the Nginx jail that's running on slash and the I don't know, the OpenSMTPD jail that's running on slash, right, on the same file system,
Yes,
just
of course, but there are also different user IDs.
yes.
So unless you have services in different jails running under the same user ID, they are already isolated just by being
I
different
see what you
user
mean.
IDs.
I see what you mean.
Where it gets really interesting is that it gives the service a well-defined scope you can target for resource limits, and it potentially allows running them with VNets so that you can, I don't know, run a DHCP server on
Mhm.
only some interfaces or stuff like
Mhm.
this.
Oh, instead of doing it manually, you mean? Yeah,
Yeah,
I see what you mean. Yeah, but I do like the
yeah.
idea of Hiroki Sato, and if that does come to reality, I would love to, you
I
add
would.
it into service dashes. Yeah.
I'm worried that people will assume that, oh yeah, it says jail on the tin, so it's a safe sandbox when you're still sharing the
I
file
see.
system namespace.
Yeah.
So it's kind of reducing the jail security almost as far down as possible.
Are those daemons already dropping privileges to a mail user, and are we then giving it more ability by having a root enabled jail around it? I don't know.
Yeah,
'Cause
no, you're not giving it more capability.
you're
Nothing
not okay.
becomes more dangerous because of
Good.
that.
Okay.
It's just that the security gains, in my opinion, it's disingenuous to advertise this as a massive security feature. Instead, it should be advertised as a manageability feature,
I see what you mean.
because this is about. So now I have a jail ID. I can scope stuff like resource limits to, or I can give it a routing table, or I can give it even its own network stack in the most extreme case, but mostly I can just, yeah, apply limitations to it, inspect the resource consumption of the whole uh, jail and not just of each process and then adding it up and so on.
Question for you. Does FreeBSD to date use jail internally for anything beyond, the installer temporarily jailing to a directory to install stuff?
Eh?
That's added on to
What makes you
FreeBSD.
think that the installer runs with jails?
The what?
No, I said that installer does it not use a jailed or root directory for doing stuff. What does FreeBSD
No,
use jail
neither.
internally for anything at this point? Is this the first time it's being proposed to incorporate it truly into the base system?
I see what you mean. Based on my experience, no.
No, FreeBSD does not use it as a required feature. I guess
That's my
you,
point, which
well,
brings up some dependency questions, but go ahead. Let's just.
Yeah.
I guess you could argue that BECTL jail is the closest thing,
Yeah. True.
but it is kind of just running the jail command in the old school command line mode.
Yep.
So
Mm.
yeah, it's not all that
Of course,
clever.
you could also argue that the host itself is a jail because it is. It's just,
It's
GID zero,
prison
VNet
zero.
zero. Yeah.
It's literally that.
What was the one during pandemics? Patient zero? Yeah, this is the same case, prison zero.
Person zero, patient zero. I like that.
Similar to how the init process is the template for everything, right?
Yeah, init zero. Yeah. Pit
Everything
zero.
Patient
is,
zero.
every process in a normal Unix system
Yeah.
is forked and exec from init.
You had another
At
clever
least,
one. Patient zero, process zero, something
Yeah.
yeah,
zero.
prison zero in this
Prison zero,
case.
thank you.
Prison zero.
Thanks. Prison zero. Yes, love it.
Mm.
Okay.
Process one, by the way,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. No, I was trying to remember prison zero,
or
so it
PID
doesn't even
one.
apply. PID one. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, PID one.
Nuke.
Is there a PID zero? Oh, the kernel technically has PID zero.
Yeah, technically in some definitions the kernel,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not useful.
So it's jail
Anyways.
0 0 -1. Ha ha. Okay. Anyway, so
Oh, the
other
-1 has
solutions.
another meaning. Minus one if you do it to careless send out processes I'm allowed to send to.
Mm.
Bye, Philip.
Oh, take care, Phil. Okay, well, I hope we've solved all the world's issues here and now. Um, well, keep at it. I mean, I cannot help but think that, Antonin, you're bumping into ancient policy issues that really should have been explored long, long ago for how do we handle services and what's the reporting mechanism? And oh, we don't have a reporting mechanism for
Yeah,
how they report their status because, well, we
yeah,
never had a policy to do it. And so
yeah.
it's a free-for-all of
Yes,
You should have
this.
solved this for me, Grandpa.
the problem here is that what we have is good enough for an interactive user.
That's true. That is absolutely true. Yes.
So if I run something like service IP6 other policy or what or list or whatever, right?
Mhm.
And I get the list of which destination address prefix is preferred with which priority. Okay, that's useful to someone who knows what it does. It's good enough. If the status just exits with the exit code of non-zero, it's also informative. It's a bit annoying if it just does that and doesn't even say something. But yeah, the problem is that now people are kind of retroactively changing the expectations from the point of view of someone maintaining an RC.D script. And it
Mhm.
was never supposed to do that because, yeah, other operating systems have evolved. Uh, Stuff like SMF, LaunchD, yeah, and sadly systemd have happened and have been normal on basically everything else for so long that the expectations shifted.
And
That
I don't
the
blame
init
people
system should
for.
be more machine readable.
And Jan, what about proper process supervision? We haven't brought that up. You brought up S6RC from this perspective, but
Mhm.
the process supervision question, which applies to VMs and other things that just don't behave like your old school mail server that comes up with boot time and goes down at shutdown time, and that's the entire life cycle of it. Like, woohoo!
Yeah, there are a bunch of questions here. Stuff like should each mount point become a service, like in right?
Oh
So
my,
that
wait,
you know, so
elaborate.
that you can
Yes.
depend on them. Systemd has done this. They
Oh,
have a
good point.
really
Oh,
ugly
goodness.
concept to do it, where they have at boot time run a parser, read the FS stub, and turn it into unit files, which are then loaded. But it means that you can have the service depend on the presence of some file system, like, I don't know, slash op www for your web server or something, and don't
Interesting.
start it until this exists. Instead, in FreeBSD, we just have the provides file systems, so
True,
that you
true,
Yeah.
could
yeah.
require file systems
Yeah.
or some other,
So just to stay a
yeah.
little bit also on topic on the jails, and Daniel, do you use the audit framework, the OpenBSM? And okay, I just wanted to know if we added jails support to that, because that was something that people have asked for like a decade
I
ago,
think
but
it's work in progress
still?
still.
Okay,
At least I don't think that recording jail IDs in events made it into 15.
okay, fine. I'll have a look.
I think
Because
that's some code in 16 or
yeah,
current right now.
okay. Because
Yeah.
Still work in progress.
we had a request from an auditor to do that. Now they don't know what jails are, so like they couldn't care less. But then I realized, oh damn, do we have this? And we're not on 15 yet. We're like on, I'm sorry, it's like 12 something. It's a bank. It takes a while until they update internal things, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only been end of life for a few years.
Yeah, it's like, well, let's just blog on the firewall everything that's exploitable and keep the rest running, you know. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. This was very
Okay.
productive. Thank you all very much. This was very useful for me.
Absolutely. And yeah, keep at it. I'm glad you're hacking away on all these great things. We're at 10 after. Does anyone want the honors?
Like and subscribe, everyone.
Thank you, Jan. Take care.
Thank you.